Hello and welcome to ANTIC number 119 for, well, it'll probably be August of 2025 by the time this gets produced and put out there. But my name is Randy Kindig. I'm here today with my co-host, my regular co-host, Brad Arnold. Hey,
Hello,
Brad.
hello, hello.
And Kay Savitz.
Hello, hello.
And we have a VIP for this episode. We've got the one and only one of the fathers of the Atari 800 and 400, Joe Decuir, with us today. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. I'm grateful every day to still be vertical.
As are we all. So the way we start this out is that we talk about what we've been doing in the Atari world. And Joe, as the VIP, we'd love to have you start us out if you could.
Well, I'll be 75 in a couple of months. I'm grateful every day to still be vertical. And I get up every day thinking, okay, what's the most useful thing I can do today? And for the last 9 years, I've been a part-time professor at the University of Washington, paying it forward. I'm trying to train the next generation of engineers so that maybe some of them can do great contributions and afford houses. So, one of the things I will mention today is some of the work that my previous capstone students have been doing and are engaged in now. Um, I'll, I'll save that for later, but they have built FPGA implementations of some Atari game consoles, and they are currently prototyping a, a usable version of the Superbug game on the Atari 8-bit computers. They were demonstrating that at the Seattle Retro Computing Society meeting yesterday.
Nice. So, what has been the reaction of your class in working on these old 8-bit computers? They've been
Well,
excited about doing that?
the ones that are, the way it works is at the school that I teach at, a three-quarter sequence called capstone is a graduation requirement. We're trying to prepare them for success in industry. So we collect projects from local industry and local professors like myself, projects to accomplish in a three-quarter sequence. So we pull together teams. The teams bid on which projects are most interesting to them, and they have to disclose what they think their strengths and weaknesses are. Like some of them can't manage their way out of a paper bag, and some of them are learning. So, you put together these teams, hopefully the team can succeed in accomplishing something. And an example of a different project that I've been involved in. So we teach a class called microprocessor system design. It's a graduation requirement. And in that class, they use a series of lab experiments. And the old lab experiments have used Z80s and 68,000s. And we're trying to build a new system that emulates a RISC-V CPU, if you know what a RISC-V CPU is. Reduced instruction set computer version 5. It's only a 12-year-old design. It's controlled by a foundation rather than a company. And it's starting to get popularity around the engineering community around the world. And so we want to teach this new modern architecture. So we've been building a system and we're going to start teaching labs with it this fall. Now that's not Atari related. I have had 3 teams working for me, helping me complete the center section of the book that is yet unfinished. The first team took the Atari Combat cartridge, little tanks driving around, and ported it to run on the Atari 8-bit computers. That was a relatively straightforward thing, but they had to develop a lot of tooling to get it to work. The way the tooling works is instead of working in assembly code, They work in C language, CC65, on a PC, and they run it first on an emulator. And the nice thing about an emulator is it shows you all the memory, it shows you the registers, shows you everything. So it's easy to debug. When they're done, they convert it to an XEX file, put it on a piece of mass storage, stick it on a serial bus, and download it into the target hardware and run it on the target hardware. So the first team did that. The second team built a one-player version of the tank game where the computer itself plays the other tank. And they had to carefully tune it so that it wasn't too good, it wasn't too terrible. So half the students could beat the computer tank, and half of the students lost to the computer tank. They had sort of adjusted the difficulty correctly. They did that work a year ago, last fall. And the third group, when I was working at Atari in the late 70s, we were designing that computer in a building adjacent to the one where the arcade designers worked. And one of them built this arcade game called Superbug. And in Superbug, imagine a very large screen, and the display scans around that screen with your little top view Volkswagen Bug as your avatar always in the center of the screen. So I built a demo of that ran on the Atari 8-bit computers. Showed it to the arcade people. They were impressed. They said, okay, this is enough animation. This is a good product to ship. So I built a demo of this game. If you were to go on Wikipedia right now and look up Superbug, the game, there's a paragraph that says, I'm supposed to finish that game. So my students are helping me finish that game. And they have, like I say, we got it to the point of testing it with the Seattle Retro Computing Society Club yesterday afternoon, and they were impressed. Again, not only did it work, it has bugs, there are things we'd like to finish, but it worked on the demonstration hardware that we brought, and it worked on two different other machines, a 120XE, and somebody had an 800XL with an accelerator in it, and it ran with and without the accelerator. When you put the accelerator in, the animation was 4 times faster. So the accelerator was working. So it was good that we could prove cross compatibility. Anyway, stepping back, the point of this work is not simply to demonstrate it at the next Portland Retro Games Expo, which I think I want to go to in late October. It's that the book, when it's finally finished, will have 3 sections. First section, which has been drafted, is the lessons we learned from the 2600 to the complete hardware and software design that we shipped in June 1979. That's the first piece. With your permission, gentlemen, I'm going to mine the existing ANTIC podcasts and flesh out that first section, referencing all these people that you've talked to. The third piece, which has also been drafted, is what happened to that product in the market. And that needs to be extended a lot because people have built FPGA implementations. They built the FujiNet. I gave a talk in the spring, I think 2 years ago, VCF Southwest. It was in Anaheim.
That would have been VCF SoCal, maybe?
Yeah,
Or was it
VCF
there?
SoCal.
I
With
was
Tom Cherry
there.
Holmes.
Yep.
And the first half of that talk was how we designed a system for future expandability, not knowing what it was going to be. And then how 40 years later, Cherry Holmes and Company stepped into that and added a new kind of device, which works great. So there's that. The middle part of the book, based on the lesson that we learned from the first machine, was we wanted to build a machine that was easy to write retro games for and on. So the middle section of that book, fleshed out by my students with examples, will be how to build retro games for it, on it. And the process we'll describe says you can use assembly code or you can use a C language system. And the advantage of higher level languages is simply that there's fewer characters that you have to enter and fewer chances of typographic errors that are going to cause bugs. It's easier. That's why they invented high level languages in the 1950s and 60s, was to increase programmer productivity. They're easier to think in. How to build that system, how to use a two-stage debug process of emulators first, where you can see everything, because the emulator knows what's in memory. The emulator knows what all the states of all the custom chips are, so you can stop things and see where you're going wrong and go back and fix it until it finally works. And then the process of converting that into native hardware. Now, something I would like my team, or I will explore myself later. So I bought, I'm going to grab it for a second. So some people bought the intellectual property from Atari, and they made this little gadget called the 400 Mini. And it doesn't do the 13-pin serial bus. It has USB on the back.
Right.
And I would like to find out if the system here can actually read and play games that are on USB. Because if so, I'd like to find out if it's possible to port the new games that they're creating to run on this or not. If anybody got any contacts with the new Atari, I'd like to find them and determine if that's easy or difficult.
Doesn't that thing have a SD card on it where you can put in?
It does not have an SD card. It has, it replaces the old 9-pin game controller ports with USB.
Right.
And on the back, it has one more.
You can load software via USB stick if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
It has a USB stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I don't know is how do you format it so that it will be found and loaded? Is an XEGS file? What do I have to present on the USB stick for it to load it?
I think I haven't done it, but I believe it's trivial. I think you shouldn't have much of a problem with that.
Once you know what to do, it's probably trivial, but I want to talk to somebody who can tell me.
No, I've got one. I just haven't, I haven't done
anything with it.
I've played with it a little bit, but I haven't done
Right.
crazy.
All I've done so far is bring it to Seattle Retro Computing Society and shown that it works.
It has a lot of software built in, but I know you can load software off of USB stick. So,
and that's the thing I want to learn how to do.
Yeah, there's plenty of resources out there that can help you with understanding how to do that.
All right,
no problem.
So that the 400 Mini will be should be included in the book as part of the what's happened since 1979. In the market. And, there are other implementations. I have a 1088 XEL, which is native silicon implementation. I have a Eclair 3.0, and there are people working on basically small form factor 800 XLs with FPGA inside, I think in Europe somewhere. And the last time I wrote to them, they said, we're not ready to ship it yet. I was waiting to grab one of those. I should contact there is a fan club for this machine in Germany, ABBUC in
Havoc.
Hamburg.
Yep. We
Uh-huh.
talk about them all the time.
And I needed to learn enough German to go visit them because I want to do that.
I'm sure they'd love to have you, Joe. I'm sure they
Well,
would.
I took an article I wrote a few years back, and we collaboratively translated it into German, and they published it in their magazine. So that's up there somewhere. But basically, in the last 10 years, 10 years ago this time, Qualcomm finally got permission from the Chinese antitrust people to buy Cambridge Silicon Radio, which is where I used to work. And 2 months later, the week I turned 65, Qualcomm laid me off. They said, here's half of your severance paid, go away and don't sue us for age discrimination. And I thought, yeah, the lawyers have enough money already. Sure, I'll take it. And they buying out my stock options liquidated my mortgage. So my wife was very excited. She says, he's retired. But she wasn't feeling very well. And the next month, she was diagnosed with late stage ovarian cancer, which finally killed her 3 years ago. Um, but if they hadn't laid me off, I would have quit at that juncture. Because, you take those wedding vows, all bets are off when that happens.
Sure.
So I spent a lot of the last few years doing cancer care. And the first time she got into remission, I started teaching part-time at the University of Washington under the understanding that it was a quarter by quarter contract. So I could pull the plug whenever things got bad. When things finally got bad again 3 years ago, pulled the plug for the summer, stayed home. She died in front of me. And I've been recovering ever since. And like I say, I'm grateful to be alive. So I can still have conversations like this. Try to pass it on, It's like, to me, the point of writing that book is that there are lessons about how to respond to market needs at different times in history and how you respond to them. And those lessons may or may not translate into the decisions that future engineers will have to make. One of the things that we do at my school in the first of the capstone sequence is we talk about the basics of marketing. Marketing is not deciding what color the ads are or which trade shows to go to. Fundamentally, marketing knows about who are your customers, what are they buying, and why are they buying it from you? And so we talk about, what are the needs that people might have. If the engineers want to be successful, they have to directly or indirectly support real marketing. If you do a lot of work on stuff that nobody needs, you're not going to change the world. If you're lucky enough to get to change the world, you have to do stuff that people need. One of the things that some people needed at some point was arcade games brought home, which is how I ended up getting your attention. But another thing that people wanted, I think, was computer-assisted communication. When I was at Atari working on the ANTIC system, I read an article about the French Minitel system, and I realized that the French were prototyping the internet. And I thought, that's the future. So when I left Atari a year later, my first startup was to pave the internet with dial-up modems. First one failed, the second one succeeded. We sold tens of millions of modems under the Evercom brand name in the 80s and early 90s, trying to pave the internet. When that company went bankrupt in a price war with Compaq, Microsoft hired me. I moved up here. So I was one of the people trying to convince Bill Gates that the internet was going to be a thing. We were successful. And so I spent the 90s incorporating communications into Windows. And today, the arcade, the home video, you know, game console business and cartridges is probably in excess of $200 billion a year worldwide. It's as large as the computer, the movie business, and the commercial music business is put together. But the internet is much larger than all of those. I think in retrospect, that was a good move at the time. I didn't make a lot of money off it, but I don't care because I don't live to be rich. I live to be useful. And I think I'm
Right.
successful.
Yes, you are, Joe. Thank you so much for giving us an update. You've got a lot going on, and we can't wait to see what the results of all this work going on for your book and some of the software that you're working on and that sort of thing.
So here, let me
So
put some things in perspective. I'm winding
sure.
down my teaching work. So I have, like this fall, I'm only teaching one lab and auditing another class, which means I am going to incorporate all the work of my students, which should be finished in a month. Go to the Portland Retro Game Expo, um, and start reassembling the middle of the book, and then budget a whole lot of time because you interviewed what, 300 and some people
Something
for
like that.
Antic
Might be more than
podcast.
400
Almost,
now.
it's probably close to 500 when you count everybody.
I have
Yeah.
to listen to a lot of those interviews and
Hmm.
incorporate that all. My goal is that by the end of this calendar year, I've got a draft that I can start circulating. I want to circulate it amongst the three of you, amongst others, because you'll say, "Oh, you forgot this. Well, you should listen to that podcast." Oh, this, you know, whatever. I would be quite happy to credit all three of you with the permission to use the ANTIC podcast work. I mean, that's going to be in the preface, if not your names on it. Um, because you collectively have been collecting all the history. The prequel book, Racing the Beam, was assembled by a pair of historians, not engineers. The sequel book, The Future Was Here About the Amiga, was assembled by some historian, I think he's from Norway, not an engineer. I'm the engineer. And when I first sent this draft off to the MIT press people, they said, you need more history. So you guys are my source of history. And a lot of the people that I would like to have interviewed have died, but you've interviewed them.
Well, we've
So,
been doing this for 12 years, so luckily
right,
we've had an opportunity to talk to some of the people that are
right.
no longer
And
around.
I'm going to be dependent on the material that you've collected. So what else is there to offer? Yeah, I sent you, but it could be subject of a different discussion. Um, in May, one of my sons, he married a goddess in Minneapolis. He's part of Twin Cities technical networking group called Mini Star, and they run a conference every year called Mini Bar. And so I went out in May and gave a talk on the Atari 2600 work. That was wildly popular. They want me to come back next year and talk about ANTIC stuff. The important point I'd like to make here on this part of this podcast is there are websites that claim that I invented Atari. Not even close to true. I was lucky enough to be able to contribute to the success at Atari. Other websites claim that I invented USB. That's not true at all. But I was lucky enough to work on a different machine which pioneered serial buses 19 years before USB 1.1 was published. I had a chance to be in a place to contribute to those things. And an administrative contribution was when I was at Microsoft, representing Microsoft to the USB Implementers Forum, some patent trolls came out of the woodwork and they attacked the USB Implementers Forum, said, "We've got patents on serial buses, give us some money." And my administrative contribution was to point out that, well, we wanted to have a bus in the backplane like the Apple II did. We couldn't do it for RFI reasons. So we had to invent a serial bus, necessity of the mother invention, right? So we did this in 1979. We shipped 6 million units at least. Commodore looked at what we were doing and they invented a different serial bus for the C64. They shipped at least 17 million units. All of that history predated when the patent trolls had filed their patents. So I sat in a meeting with those people and I said, given all this history, that patent is invalid. If you'd like to go to court, we'll blow you out of the water. Goodbye. So they went away. And that was not a direct technical contribution to USB. I did that in other ways, but it was an administrative contribution to keep the patent trolls away. So
Right.
I don't hate
Right.
lawyers. I just want them to be bored.
That's a great story, Joe. Thanks for sharing that.
It's true.
Well, we'd like you to stick around. We're going to go through some news after we talk with everyone else to see what
Okay.
they've been up to and get your thoughts on things going on in the entire world.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Kay, what have you been up to, sir?
The one thing I am ready to report is, first of all, I had a lovely pancake breakfast with a good friend of mine.
It was good.
It was good. Yeah, I found myself in Randy's neck of the woods, and we went out and had pancakes at, I don't remember the name of the place anymore, but it was great, and we caught up and
Blueberry Hill pancakes.
Hill pancakes. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Brad, we missed you too,
Yeah.
buddy.
I have no words for that.
Yeah, so I got to catch up with Randy, and that was fun. The other thing, a lot of summer family travel and stuff, but so I got a message from Robert Moore, one of the co-founders of Hybrid Arts, who I interviewed some time ago, and he said he had a whole bunch of floppy disks. From Hybrid Arts, and did I want to image them? And I'd be like, yeah, great, mail them to me. So it's like, don't trust don't want them to be mail. Don't quite trust that, UPS or USPS or whatever. But he would be headed to the Portland area for a thing, and he could bring the discs to me. So we worked out a complicated situation where he brought the discs to me, although I was out of town. He left them at my house, and then I have them for 3.5 weeks. And then next month, when I go to Southern California for something, I'm taking the discs back to him. And so I have about 80 Atari 8-bit discs of Hybrid Arts stuff, including a bunch of stuff that has never been thoroughly and carefully imaged. MIDI track 3, MIDI track 2, a bunch of sample patch kits for Yamaha and Casio and various synthesizers, stuff that this company created that have never been properly saved. So, and also although I haven't gotten to this yet, there appears to be some discs from the Hybrid Arts BBS that they had, and I don't know if that will include stuff that was available for download or message board messages. I haven't fluxed those yet. So working my way through all that, sending the discs to sending the flux images to a8preservation.com, and the experts there are making sure that every byte is there and that the the copy protection is intact and can be defeated and all that stuff. During this process, one of my floppy drives, I'm doing this, for this one, I've been using the SuperCard Pro connected to my Mac. That's the flux imaging device, and using a TIAC floppy drive, like a PC drive. And after a while, I thought maybe the discs were reading beautifully. I mean, they were clean. I was getting every byte. Everything was looking great. And then after a while, like that stopped being the case. The discs were not so clean. And I thought, well, these discs are older or dirty or whatever. And after some testing and talking with the preservation folks, it turns out that my floppy drive just stopped working properly. So I don't really know how to fix it other than, cleaning the heads. But I have another drive. I had a backup drive. So I grabbed my other drive and now things are working beautifully again. The So I will be able to make it through the rest of these disks using this backup drive. But now I don't have a backup drive. So I need to get this first drive repaired or get another drive or something. But I don't know what would make a floppy drive just start spewing out garbage rather than what's reading. Anyway, so that's what I've been working on. I have this short deadline to get all these disks read and make sure that they're as good as can be before I have to return the disks to Robert Moore. So anyway, that's what I've been working on. What's that?
You should get one of the kinds of serial bus adapters that goes to mass storage, SD cards or other kind of solid state storage. So copy them off of your floppies onto something that's somewhat more stable.
Oh, sure. No, that's the whole point of
Good.
this, is to get them off the floppies to something more stable. Um, it so this is a device, the SuperCard Pro hooks up to my Mac, and it's an interface between the Mac and a PC floppy drive that does flux level reads. So I'm not I don't know how to I don't know the science behind it. I'm going to do this badly, but rather than reading the data off the disks like a regular floppy drive would, it is getting the actual magnetic flux data,
Wow.
which can be manipulated
Right.
better to turn that into data. But also you're not going to get, if there are bad sectors, it can read them anyway. If there's copy protection, it can read it
Right.
anyway. So it's getting the flux data. So
Digital demodulation.
okay, I believe you. So anyway, so you end up with like a 10 megabyte file for one floppy disk because it's the flux data. And then whatever, then it does its magic and also turns it into the 90K disk.
Great.
But anyway, so yes, I'm doing what you suggest and getting it off of, you know, and
Good.
it reads every sector 5 times and compares them and makes sure that everything is what it should be. Anyway, um, so that's what I've been doing. And then we'll have
Nice.
other stuff
Very
preserved.
nice.
Yeah,
More to preserve. That's always great.
always more. Yep. So,
Brad, how about you, sir?
No. Yeah, I was looking at his website and I think they're in stock, but uh, since the website was designed in I think 1827 or something, it's kind of hard to tell, but
You must be talking about Best Electronics.
yeah, I must be because I'm trying to work up the nerve to actually put in an order. That man scares me, and but
Oh, he's a pussy cat. I interviewed him a dozen years ago. He's great.
but I'm gonna get a couple of 1200 mile hours to fix my 1200s, and but because I want to, they're both, well, they're got 1200 keyboards, so we know what
They
happens with
always
1200
they always
keyboards.
go, don't they?
Yeah.
I've got one that's had it replaced, but I didn't do the replacement. A
So
friend of mine did the replacement, but I
yeah, I'm
understand that they all go
gonna
bad.
get those replaced. And then my ongoing saga of the 130XE, from one of the guys
Which
in
is
club.
what? What? So
Uh,
what's the story?
oh,
What's
the
going on with the
one of the
130?
guy had a guy hear about us and then the club, so he came to a club meeting with he had his doctoral thesis and background and all this stuff on 130XE floppies.
Really?
And so he wanted it off. And so he wanted his 130XE repaired. And we've been kind of going around with that. But last club meeting, he brought his diskettes in, and I used my 130XE to prove the data is still readable. And uh, so instead of getting his machine repaired, I think what we're going to do is just next month I'll hook up FujiNet or something and just copy the files off to an SD card for him and let him have his files, because I think at the end of the day he's more interested in the files than messing with his 130. And if he still wants that repaired, we'll continue down that road. But
Where is this meeting?
uh, I, we have a club here in Atlanta
Okay.
called the Atlanta Historical Computing Society,
Okay.
and we're kind of a general interest club, not just Atari stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
The
we have
group that I
monthly
was in
meetings.
yesterday is similar, except it's in Seattle.
Yeah, and we have monthly meetings. We host a yearly show called Vintage Computer Festival Southeast, which
Aha.
we've done for
I've
12 years
considered
now.
attending that before, but
Yeah,
it was conflicting with some other thing.
yeah. A couple years ago, we had you via Zoom or
Right.
remote it in, but
Right.
which was a good talk you gave. But we this is our monthly meeting. Now we've grown. There's like 30 of us now showing up every month and doing uh, nerdy computer stuff. And you have the gamut from guys designing computers. We got a couple guys who can actually do design, chip level design, and all the way to the. But it's
Yeah, you've got some talented guys in that club,
yeah,
Brad, no doubt.
and but
That sounds, the Seattle Retro Computing Society is comparable in size. We meet at a place with a big lab so we can test everything every month. Some
that'd be
members of the
fun.
group are debugging old. Do you know what the Alto computer is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're debugging one.
Ah,
So I bring in my logic analyzer so we can plug in and figure out what's wrong with it.
yeah, it's,
Right. Talk about needing lives.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and so Randy, what you been up to?
So it sounds like we've all been doing some archiving, which is great. I also participated in that endeavor. I got a couple more of the Jersey Atari Computer Group newsletter. In fact, the final two that I had that, Kay, I know you're maintaining the list of the stuff that's been scanned and hasn't been scanned.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the August and September newsletters scanned and uploaded to archive.org.
Which finishes off 1986 of that
Yep.
newsletter. Yeah.
Yep.
Yay.
Yeah. The collection I had was mainly 85 and 86. And a lot of those were already there, but I got several added to the collection.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Some interesting stuff out there, some good articles. And I'd recommend people take a look at, the stuff that's out there. But
Question.
also, I worked on the public domain library that they have. I had come into possession of about 100+ discs from their public domain collection.
Mhm.
And I've been going through and making sure all of those are archived as well. And I got discs 40 through 50 worked on this month and tested each one of them, made digital copies of all of them. Still got at least another 50 or 60 discs to go through and do the same thing with. But I found a couple more, Kay, that I couldn't copy. There were two translator discs
Mhm.
that load a translator program so that you can run Atari 400, 800 stuff on your XL, XE machines.
Mhm.
And those discs are apparently created in a special way because
Hmm.
when you do a directory, it looks funny, looks very strange. And
Huh.
the regular DOS disk copy will not copy those. So
I can look at my first thing is I think that unless this is some weird version or something, I think the translator is well archived. Everybody had a copy of that. Um, but I can look at them. They may be fourth discs or something. Often those look weird.
I've got some fourth discs that I still need to send you as well.
Yeah.
And I know when we met up just about a week ago, I should have taken those to you and I forgot. So I'm gonna have to mail them to you. But anyway, I've gotten all but maybe 5 discs duplicated and ready to be archived.
Hmm.
Question.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you scanned this yet?
I can't read it what it is. Yes, the TIA manual. I think I scanned yours. The
Good.
TIA 1A
Good.
manual. Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. That was
And
years
so
ago.
here's another interesting,
Your engineering notebook. Yes.
that's one of the last one includes, here's what the Amiga should be.
Mm-hmm. The proposal for, yeah, all stops out.
Yeah.
I believe.
We wound up reconvening several years later to start working on the Amiga. That was done in 1979. We started in the fall of 82.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's stuff that I've got that you haven't scanned yet, and that might be an example.
I don't know. I have scanned. I would look if there's anything that you have that I haven't scanned yet. I want to scan it.
Well, this is going to be,
But the two
maybe I
things you
should
just
do
showed
it.
me, we do have those two items scanned.
Okay,
Both of your engineering notebooks,
good,
uh,
good.
and
Right.
and the
This is one
TIA.
that has Bill Gates' address and phone number in Albuquerque, New
Oh,
Mexico.
good. I'm gonna call him up. Say hey.
No, he's long since moved.
No, no, I'm sure.
He was
probably
trying to
get a
sell us
massage
basic.
parlor or something.
He was trying to sell us basic at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. The final thing I've been working on is an article for ABAC. You mentioned the Atari Bitbiter User Club, Joe.
Hmm.
I'm working on an article about podcasting for them that'll
Good.
come out in a future version of their newsletter. They produce a monthly newsletter. So
Yeah, I got one. Is it monthly or quarterly? I got
I'm
one
sorry.
2 days ago.
Yeah, it's quarterly. You're right. Okay.
It's always got a floppy in it.
Yes, it has a real floppy in it. That's always fun to get real
Mhm.
floppies these days. It's always fun. All right, as far as recent interview shows, we haven't had any recently. Kay, is there anything you want to say about any potential upcoming interviews?
Nope, I have some editing to do. That's all. That's all there is to say.
The
Can
only thing I
I?
want to add is I did get contacted by Kevin McKenzie. I've been trying to contact him for several years, and out of the blue, he sent me an email
Hmm.
He's the guy who
saying
designed that machine behind you.
he's the one that designed the case for the Atari 800.
Wow.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really pushing hard to try to get an interview with him. He seems amenable to it. So
Great.
I'm hoping that we can make that happen.
Excellent. I love that. Please do
One
that.
of the things I would like to put into the book is a list of all the people who I can identify who worked on that machine. And Kevin will obviously be one of them. And he knows
Mhm.
who the person who designed the case for the 400 was. I don't
Oh,
remember
okay.
the name of that person's name, but I would like to, in the book, you know, how in the end of movies there are always these credits. I want the credits in the book
Nice.
Right.
because all of us contribute. Speaking of which, do you have any spare copies of that nice blue ANTIC t-shirt?
For you, we will
We
make
can
that
get you
happen.
one.
We can make
We
that
will
happen.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to
That'd
be
be
able to
great.
wear one.
We'd love the advertising, Joe. That'd be great.
What size do you want?
XL,
All right, we'll make it happen.
and I'll
XL,
send you
that
my address and email.
Great. What was I going to ask? Oh, my question for Kevin McKenzie, what was his name? The
yeah, Kevin McKenzie.
is I have heard and I have been telling the story for years, and I hope this is true. I think I might have heard this from Joe that the styling of the 800 was based on the IBM Selectric typewriter in order to make the computer not scary. It was a familiar shape. It looked
Mhm.
like a typewriter that people already knew and comfortable with. I heard that. I've been telling that story for years. I would like verification from Kevin that that was what they were thinking. So that's my question for you to ask him, please.
That would
It
be a
seems
reasonable
reasonable.
question.
Yeah.
And related to that, a point to you, gentlemen. So in 1976, 77, Atari marketing is looking around and realizing that our bill of materials for the 2600 was going to be in the $65 range. And if we did a traditional consumer product markup, it would probably have a suggested retail of about $200. And the marketing people looked around and they thought, what are consumers willing to spend $200 on? And the answer was top loading cassettes. Now, the circuit board for the 2600 was about yay big. And $200 was buying a larger thing. So if you give me a second. So this is my original heavy sixer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And marketing deliberately packaged it to look kind of like a top loading cassette player.
Like a
And
top-loading
they said,
VCR, is that what you mean?
well,
Or
VCRs didn't exist yet.
oh, okay.
Top
Oh,
loading
you mean
cassette
audio
player.
cassette? Okay.
So this thing has 1/4 inch thick plastic to make it feel like it's $200 worth of value, even though the circuit board is much smaller. They did this deliberately to make it appear like it was worth the $200.
Wow.
That was on purpose. And so the story that you're suggesting is probably accurate.
Yeah, that's what I heard from years ago. You know, it was yes. If it wasn't based on this electric, it should have been.
It sure has a striking resemblance there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there had to be some sort of influence.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, if you're ready, gentlemen, let's jump into the Atari news, talk about what's going on in the Atari world.
Great.
And I'd like to start out with a kind of a group discussion, if we could. There have been some things going on in the Commodore world that I'd like to talk about. We talked a little bit about this on the last show, but some additional things have happened since then. The new Commodore has, well, I guess that all that has not quite finished yet as far as the takeover of the Commodore name, but it's supposed to be done by the end of this month. But there's been a new machine announced called the C64 Ultimate that is a reimagining and a remake of the Commodore 64. And it looks amazing. It looks amazing to me. The cool thing about it is the fact that it supports all of the legacy. It's FPGA based, but it supports all the legacy peripherals and legacy cartridges, as well as having USB, VGA, I'm sorry, HDMI and SD card interface built into it as well. And it looks exactly like the Commodore 64, especially the base version, although you can get other versions that have like a clear case. This is the sort of thing I would have loved to see for the Atari 800 XL. And I think we're all kind of hoping that will happen. What do you guys think about this? And do you think it will spur something with the new Atari in trying to get something out there like this?
Possibly because I'm sure the infograms, or well, actually, it's not infograms anymore. It's whatever this guy is. uh, but the new Atari is watching this intently uh, to see what happens because, if it fails, that's the end of that. But if this thing succeeds, I fully expect, something to happen, a Atari something, 800 XL, whatever, ultimate.
I think this was sort of what we were hoping, this Revive XL
Mm.
project that's been going on in Poland.
Right.
We're
That's the
kind of
one I
hoping
was
that,
trying to buy.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought you
No,
were
yeah,
talking
we've
about.
been watching that for a while, and I don't know. My feeling is I I don't care about Commodore. I'm not going to buy one of these, but I wish them well. And more competition is better, and more
Mhm.
people interested in old computers is better. And whether you're playing with an Apple II or a Commodore or Atari, if you're thinking and learning from these old machines, then great.
One of the nice things about these old machines is that they're, in my opinion, great teaching tools. They're simpler than the modern machines. I'm not sure that anybody is publishing how the insides of your mobile phones work. They're vastly more powerful than the stuff that we were building back 40 some odd years ago. But those older machines are understandable. And as an educator, I would rather teach one of these older machines first and then teach them how to add complexity to it rather than starting with something that's astonishingly complicated.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
I
again, I'm waiting for that same um, XL Futures group from Poland. And if I were to go to the Amiga 40 event in Germany in late October, it would be to hopefully run into some of those people at the at that event.
Hmm.
yeah. Are you planning to go to that, Joe?
Well, the Portland Retro Games Expo is the same weekend,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and I want to show off the Superbug implementation at PRGE. So I can't be in two places at the same time, and for me to drive to Portland is a whole lot easier than flying to Germany.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go to Germany, and I'm going to go to the Amiga 40 event next weekend in Mountain View because there's two of them. There's one in the Santa Clara Valley, and there's one in Germany. And I was badge number 3 at Amiga. Badge number 0 was Jay's dog. She died. Badge number 1 was Dave Morse. He died. Badge number 2 was Jay Miner. He died. I'm the last surviving badge. So I'll be part of that panel in next weekend. And
Nice.
it's hard to be in two places at once when you really know where it all. So given a choice, I'll be at PRGE.
Okay.
I don't need a book.
So go ahead.
It's okay.
So the other thing that happened, we talked about on the last show that this reboot of Compute, although they were calling it Compute's Gazette, was happening, and it actually did come out. So the first issue came out, and they um, the person who was producing this has said that he wants to support other machines besides the Commodore. The first version of this very Commodore centric, a lot of Commodore stuff, but there is some Atari stuff in there. There is a FujiNet report by Tom Cherryhone.
Excellent.
Yeah, so he's going to be writing for this magazine. Uh, And Atari Outpost has been revived by Jerry White.
Hmm.
And so he's going to be doing that as well for this
Wow.
magazine. So,
Nice.
yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Uh, so just like he did with Compute in the old days.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there definitely was some Atari 8-bit content in there, but again, probably three-quarters of it was Commodore related content. But that was a good start, and I'm anxious to see what else they come up with.
Did you get it? What'd you think
I
of it?
did. I got the digital copy.
Yeah,
I did
which
not buy the print copy,
yeah,
but
is it
planning on
worth
continuing to buy it.
yeah, so it's
And
worth a read?
I thought so. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my opinion.
Oh no.
You may get differing opinions from other people.
Oh,
I
well,
know in the general community, there was some a little bit of outrage from some of the other fan bases like TI and Spectrum and so on, that there wasn't any
outrage from
coverage or
fan
more
bases.
coverage of their, of their
Yeah,
favorite machine.
yeah.
But
They should get all the old columnists back. Get C. Regina to do the TI column,
yeah,
and yeah, and yeah, and that would be funny.
yeah.
I keep meeting relatively senior engineers at this point in their lives for whom the C64 or the Atari 8-bitters were their first computers. And this is how they learned to program in BASIC and then maybe started experimenting with assembly code and this and that and the other thing. This is, for a lot of them, this was their formative experience.
Hmm.
Sure.
Yep, that's certainly true. You see a lot of those stories all over social media.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. The next topic is around the ongoing saga. I know that Kay, you and I have certainly been very interested in and trying to help push is
Hmm.
around adding FujiNet support for Atari 800 Mac X. You want to tell us what's been going on there?
Well, sure. Someone is adding
Paulo Garcia.
Paulo. Yes, thank you. Paulo Garcia is adding FujiNet support to Atari 800 Mac X. Now, last episode we talked about uh, having FujiNet support to Atari 800 on the Mac, which was good, but the kind of
Hmm.
the best known, best supported emulator on the Mac is a customized version called Atari 800 Mac X. We've all been using it for years and years. It works great. And Palo is adding FujiNet support to it. Um, I have played with it and it works pretty well. I mean, the FujiNet part is working great, actually. You run FujiNet in a terminal window and then separately launch Atari 800 Mac X, and you click a button and say, "Hey, use the FujiNet," and it does. And I was able to access the FujiNet game servers, and I played a couple of rounds of the Yahtzee game FujiZ, and a little bit of the five card stud poker, and it totally worked beautifully. It worked great. I did have a couple little hiccups for my specific situation and reported them, and Paul was just like, "Okay, I'll look into it." So it looks like we're headed towards having a version 7 of Atari 800 Mac X that is going to fully support FujiNet, and that is going to be amazing. Um, the requests that I'm putting out there, maybe this is already possible, I don't know, but the thing that I would like to be able to do once this is done is to have two FujiNets emulated simultaneously on my Mac and two instances of Atari 800 Mac X so that I can have two emulated FujiNet Ataris that can talk to each other so that if I'm, say, making a game, I can test them talking to each other on one system, on one Mac. So, um,
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
yeah. So,
I I I
but I
think I think
mean,
right now you can't run. Can you run two instances and
I don't think you can run two instances of FujiNet because I think it always uses the same port number, and so
oh,
you'd
okay.
have to
Right.
customize the port. I don't really know. I haven't really tried it. And I think you can run two instances of Atari 800 Mac X just by copying the application and launching the second thing, but it's going to try to talk to the same FujiNet emulate
Right.
anyway. So I think it's going to be easy for someone smarter than me to make it happen. But anyway, this is great news. FujiNet, I mean, sorry, Atari 800 Mac X. It was time for a refresh, and now it's getting that, and it's getting the most important feature it could possibly get, which is FujiNet.
Well, I think as part of this, I think it's getting some of the features. So it was originally based on Atari 800,
Right.
right? That emulator.
Hmm.
So I think it's getting some of the features of the Atari 800 emulator, which has been upgraded over the years that it didn't have before. So,
Mm-hmm.
What
I think the whole
FujiNet
thing.
does is the Atari 800 itself, the BIOS in particular, was designed by a bunch of people who were studying other operating systems, in particular mini computer operating systems, and studied how the IBM 360, what amounted to its BIOS, worked. And so they designed it to be extensible for things that we didn't yet know what they were going to be. And so the FujiNet people, first of all, leveraged that the Atari 800 BIOS was going to go out to a serial bus device and say, can you download your device driver, your device handler, as they called it? And so the FujiNet design included something to respond to. So it downloaded its own driver when you plug it in. So it was plug and play. And all the FujiNet implementations for any system that they've been working on, where possible, they do the same thing so that they solve the device driver question right at the front end.
When you first saw or heard about the FujiNet, Joe, were I'm curious how you felt about it. Were you could I imagine you could have either been like, "Holy wow,
I was
this
delighted
is
to help
or,
them.
yeah, okay,
I was delighted. What we had done in late 70s was think somebody's going to make up IO devices that we don't yet know about.
hmm
So we have to make extensibility built into the BIOS. And I had already discovered networking. So I was anticipating someday that we would want networking. And so, for example, there's DMA in the Amiga to support the communications port, figuring that someday people are going to want to stuff more data into this machine than we can currently handle by, reading and interrupt a byte at a time. And that was true. And so Thomas Cherry Holmes was first of all working on building an application to run on a bunch of machines, and he noticed this big hole in all these old machines. How do you do networking on them? So then he went to solve the underneath problem of TCP/IP plugged into it. And that's what he did. And the Atari 800 was the first one, but he's covered at least a half a dozen different machines now,
sure,
maybe more.
yeah, yeah. Right. So all right, it
And
seems like
continue.
Fujinet was like the just logical conclusion or next step in what you
Right.
had envisioned.
Have I sent any of you the presentation that we made at BCF SoCal 2 years ago? Because if not, I should send it to you.
Probably,
I think it's online. I think it's on YouTube.
Oh, it should be.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so good.
good.
We're
Yeah.
covered.
And I was there and I actually saw that presentation.
That's
So
right.
it
I
was
remember
great.
that.
Yeah. Fantastic. The other piece of this that, I know again, Kay, you and I have been interested in is how do we, how can we use this ability to use the emulator and FujiNet to actually create a nice development environment for building FujiNet enabled games, right? And so, as I mentioned before, Eric Carr had developed a Visual Studio Code extension that would allow you to do your development in Visual Studio Code and then immediately go and invoke, compile and invoke your FastBasic program, FastBasic,
Fast basic.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Well, my
Fast
students have
Basic,
been using CC65.
PC65. Well, Fast Basic is really great, and you can program
Okay.
in Basic, which is nice. But it will compile it, and then it will actually send the resulting file over to the emulator, invoke it, and run it. So you got an end-to-end ability to write it, compile it, and test it. And then with the FujiNet, you could even then test it with FujiNet enablement as well. So Eric, I contacted Eric about making it. So he had it working with Altera on
Right. That's what
Windows.
my students use.
Okay. Oh, I asked him if he could make it work with Atari 800 Mac X on the Macintosh. So he is looking into that and see if he can find a way that he can make that happen as well, which would kind of complete that work. So that's kind of exciting.
Well, certainly from my standpoint, there are things that I don't yet know about how to use FujiNet and how to do development using it. So to the extent that I don't know what I don't know, I'd like to help include that both for my own knowledge and then to promulgate in the book, because I'd like people to buy FujiNets and do their own development easier than using floppy drives.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Brad, do you want to take the next news item?
When I saw this in the show notes, I really like this thing just because. But there's a new multi-cart that's being designed out there called the Decent Cart 2350. And it's based on the RP 2350 microcontroller, but this one's claim to fame is it has a large LCD screen that if you watch the YouTube video that we've included in the show notes, he's doing the labels for the game that he's going to play.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just a cool little thing. And I hate to use the word gimmick, but it's a cool little gimmick in the cartridge.
So
And
it's similar to the A8 Pico card, I believe, except it's got this different
yeah, it's a
different
different
processor.
microcontroller. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
But that LCD screen and being able to faithfully reproduce the
yeah,
label for the card you're actually emulating at that point in time, that's just fun.
That's
yeah,
That's
it's
cute.
so
fun.
cool.
Yeah, it's just fun. And so he's working on it for his ABAC hardware contest entry. It's open sourced, and he says the hardware is pretty much done, but he's working on the firmware now, and he's still working on that. So hopefully once he's done, it'll be
Get
available.
one of these and put it in my Atari 800 so you'll never be able to see the
Yeah, yeah. Well,
never
you
see the
have to
custom
make
label
a
screen.
Yeah.
what do they call it? Not flip top, pop top Atari. Pull the top off, and
That means you have to hardwire it so that the cartridge interlock doesn't work.
yeah,
So it works even with the top off.
and that's what screwdrivers are for. Okay, that's a joke. Okay. I guess
All right.
engineers don't appreciate screwdriver jokes.
Inappropriate joke in this situation.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe. Okay.
Oh.
And
All
yeah,
right.
before I get in too much trouble, Randy, you want to go into the next one?
Yeah. So, Kay, you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, someone has made an Atari 800 peripheral I hate that word, peripheral emulator for the Flipper Zero. The Flipper Zero, as you may know, is a portable multi-tool for pen testers and geeks, and a little portable little thing, and people use it for all sorts of good trouble and bad trouble, I'm sure. Anyway, so someone has made a peripheral emulator for this Flipper Zero device, um, and um, and I don't know. Let's see. I've never used one of these things, so I can't say too much about it. But it looks like it does floppy drive emulation. It does XEX executable loading,
Too
and
many X's.
yeah, don't get executable peripheral emulation. It's like my tongue's not ready for these words today. And it does 850 modem emulation, all in a cute little Flipper Zero device. Fun.
Joe's probably interested in this because it enters the SIO port for this Flipper device,
Well,
Flipper
that's what
Zero
the
device.
PugiNet does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, this next item has to do with the 1090 XL remake, which I do have one. Joe, do you have a 1090 XL?
I have a box with a 1090 XL in it, and here it is.
Is it the original one or is it the
It's
remake?
an original one. My
Okay.
company briefly had a contract to build a serial parallel board for it.
Oh, okay. Nice. So has Brian Roofsnyder been in contact with you about that at all?
I've talked to somebody on Facebook about it, and they haven't asked for any help recently. I was suggesting that, if they needed somebody to help test it, let me know.
Yeah. So Brian Roofsnyder created a remake,
I
faithful
knew that.
remake.
And they're
And
building a bunch of peripherals for it.
yes, yes. And I know that serial parallel card was one of the recent ones that Brian was working on.
Mhm.
What I wanted to highlight here, there's a memory card, there's an 80 column card, there's a CPM card. So, there's some cool cards for this thing. And recently, someone who goes by the handle of fokaszalot, I guess is how you pronounce it. One of the downsides of the remake is that there has been no case for it, and it's pretty big, and to have an uncased device just sitting around is not great. So he has created a 3D printable case for it, and he's put the files out where everyone can get them. So if you have a 1090 XL, and you have a 3D printer that is large enough to
school has
support.
them.
Yeah. Okay. He's got a really nice case that he's designed for it. It looks just like the original 1090 XL housing.
Which I wasn't around for, and I don't remember what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, it's the XL style,
I would
right?
imagine.
It's that color and style.
So I imagine it hooks up to XL to the parallel bus connector on the back. Now that's descended from even the original 400 and 800 had a, tin clad test connector. So every machine that we built plugged into a testing system so we could exercise it and make sure it was good enough to put in the box. And so the PEB, I think that's what it's called, is descended from that. Except that they finally made it gold plated rather than tin plated.
Yeah. I always wondered that test connector on the back of the motherboard. There's a lot of pins there.
Right. Well, it's the bus and a lot of other things. And it's so that they could, in a reasonable amount of time, do QC testing on every machine before they put it in the box. In fact, the reason I stayed at Atari all the way to finish the project was specifically to write the firmware that they used in production to test each unit. And they later made a cartridge out of that, and they that company in the Santa Clara Valley, I forget their name, that sells old parts. They sell that cartridge.
Oh, the salt cartridge.
Yep, that's it.
Probably sold by B&C Computer Visions.
Right. Anyway, so they've been using that to, is it working or not?
Yeah.
How is it failing? So one of the things you do when you write that firmware is you say, okay, if it fails this test, here's how you might rework it. If it fails this test, here's how you might rework it, so that you can increase the yield of what gets shipped and not clutters up storage space in your factory. When I teach my engineering students about quality engineering, there's 4 elements of it. One of them is a maintainable theory of operation. One of them is QA testing, prove that the prototype works. And one is QC testing, because if you're in a company that manufactures something, you have to be able to test each unit that's assembled to make sure it's good enough quality to put in the box. The last element, of course, is supporting end users, which is another story for another time.
That's a story in itself, no doubt.
It's several stories.
All right, Bradley, you want to take the next item here?
Chat 64 for Atari 800 XL. The Oh, okay, it's a cartridge. I was about to say Etsy doesn't, but there's on Etsy you can get a cartridge for $49.01, which is odd. It's a Chat 64 terminal, and it connects to Wi-Fi with the so you can connect to, if you have multiple computers with this cartridge in, they'll all connect together, and you have basically a network.
See, this is here.
Does it use FujiNet?
It says connect with the community of Atari of 8-bit computer enthusiasts online with the Chat 64 cartridge. The cartridge connects your 800XL to the internet using Wi-Fi and enables you to chat with other 8-bit computer users from around the world. All 8-bit computers join in the same chat room. Crafted as an open source endeavor by Bart Veneker and Theo van de Beld. It's a complete product built and tested before shipping. So basically, it sounds like everyone
it was
ends up in
originally
this.
developed for the Commodore 64. That's why it's called Chat 64.
Uh-huh.
But they've come out with it for the Atari 800, and it's just a chat tool.
Huh.
It will connect people, or machines.
Puts everybody in the same single chat room. Can you imagine the Atari / Commodore flame wars that might happen?
Well, how does it connect to Wi-Fi? FujiNet or something else?
I think it might have built-in.
Yeah, it has built-in Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's probably, I'd be willing to bet it's the same CPU as FujiNet, because those are inexpensive. Yeah, there it is right there. And so it's it's probably kind of sort of the same thing.
I think it's just like a single purpose unit, though. I mean, it's not going to do any of the networking, whatever. It's just it's an IRC or whatever. It's just a chat window.
Yeah.
It seems like this capability could be added to FujiNet, so that you could do the chats without.
Yeah. Years ago, I did a very prototype chat server for FujiNet, and I don't think I just did like a version 0.1 of it to prove that it could work, and it was a chat room for FujiNet, and I don't know if anything more has happened with it, but certainly not by me. But yeah, but this neat little single-use device for
Oh, and they have it for the Spectrum too.
Fun.
So that would make the chat room really Commodore, Sinclair, and Atari. Yeah, World War III right there.
Okay, the next one is a new version of the Atari Basics newsletter from John Zilke. He sent us a pre-release version of it, specifically knowing that by the time we got this published, it probably would be out. It's important to note that he had a 1 year anniversary with this August issue of the Atari Basics newsletter. And I want to congratulate John for doing that. He's been very diligent about getting this out every month. And,
Yeah.
it's always great to have more Atari content out there. One thing he does do in his newsletter is he does publish a lot of stuff from other newsletters. So from, 83, 84,
Mhm.
whatever. He has a lot of that stuff, but he also has new stuff as well. For instance, there was an action series being put together by Wade Ripkowski, also known as Inversitaski,
Dang.
right now. I
Mhm.
think on the last show I said it was somebody else, but I do want to point out it is Wade that is actually doing that action set of articles. There's some articles on logo in this version. There's a lot of reviews of games and things like that. So I think John's doing a wonderful job, and I really appreciate what he's doing there.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed. He came to PCF Southeast, uh,
Hmm.
and I missed him.
Oh,
Oh,
Since I
since you
I
didn't
couldn't
go,
make
right?
it. Yeah, I couldn't make it, so I didn't get. Well, I couldn't make it, so I didn't go. Duh. But yeah, and I was bummed because he was there. So anyway,
Also, newsletter related, I want to point out that the English version of the ABAC Mag 161 is now out. It is available for download if you're an ABAC
Really?
member from the download area. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, Joe, if you knew that the German edition is the only one that comes out on paper, but there's always a digital
Okay.
version of the English version
Online.
produced. And in fact, I assist with that
I
effort.
should go look for that.
Yeah. If you're an ABAC member, you can go download it from the download area.
Right, because I have here a huge collection.
Yeah. Of the magazines, the print magazines
yep.
and discs.
Yep.
How's your German there, Joe?
Not great.
Yeah.
But I have been realizing that I needed to practice because I'd like to eventually, like I say, go visit them and at least be passable. I studied French and Latin and Russian in high school. And when I go to French-speaking countries, I try to speak French. And they all laugh at me and they answer in English because their English as a second language is better than my French as a second language.
Hmm.
And German would be more of the same, but I can try.
All right, and the final piece of news is about FujiNet. Tom Cherryholmes has been putting out some calls to action. He's asking for people to get clean disassemblies of some games that have high score capability, so that they can be converted to FujiNet and use the FujiNet high score enabled capability. Um, so if you have or can help get disassemblies of some games and help get those converted over to use FujiNet, that would be wonderful.
The only clean disassemblies I've got are Combat that I worked on,
Hmm.
Video Olympics, which I worked on, and um, adventure courtesy of the original author. I don't know if those would help anybody.
Those are all 2600 things, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if they're doing the high
You're
score
not even.
contest for
And
VHS.
my students working for me
VCF.
now are working in CC65, not in assembly.
Hmm.
And in those cases, I think at some point I will provide the CC65 source to Tom and company so they can do whatever they want with them. I mean, it's explicitly part of the book design is that people should be able to leverage the work that we've done and write their own games in a foreseeable amount of time, like a season. In the modern gaming world, it's hundreds of man years to create a lot of games. And these old machines are simple enough that you can figure them out and then write games in a foreseeable amount of time. And we Atari wanted explicitly to design the Atari 8-bit so that people could write their own stuff. And I still have that mission.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Interactive cartoons.
Okay, that's it for the Atari news. Next up, we always like to talk about any upcoming shows where you might see Atari computers. Brad, you want to tell us about the first one?
Silly Venture SE Summer Edition is July 31st through August 3. Yeah, Poland, and that place where all the Atari people go.
And at some point, I want to go there. I imagine that's where Lotharek goes, for example.
Yeah.
But as luck would have it, that is simultaneous with the VCF West next weekend,
Next weekend, yeah.
Mhm.
which I'm already booked to go to. So it's called Silly what?
Silly
Silly
Venture.
Venture.
Silly Venture,
Mhm.
Poland.
Yep, which is the same weekend, as Joe was saying, as VCF West, which is August 1st and 2nd at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California. If you go, I guarantee you will see Joe Decuir, who invented the Atari and invented
No,
USB.
I contributed.
You invented the Atari and USB single-handedly.
Single-handedly.
No.
All by himself. Oh, we're just having fun.
Oh, way to embarrass Joe there, okay. Wonderful. Yeah, but so that was a great segue, Joe, to talk about VCF West. The next one is Fujiyama, also August 11th through the 17th in Langenfeld, Germany. So
Where Joe
there's another one.
Joe could go to practice his German.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
ready yet. I'm still teaching classes,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm busy teaching classes until the 22nd of August.
Hmm.
So I don't think I'm going. But is
Okay.
that Thomas Cherry Holmes and Company?
No, this is it's a German thing. I don't think Tom is going.
Okay.
I went to it one year. It was a lot of fun, but it's German folks being German and speaking in German, and I missed on a lot of great conversations because my German is not good. But I had a good time playing games.
Good.
Yep.
And of course, VCF Midwest is September 13th through the 14th. The big show. I will be at that show representing ANTIC. Joe, it'd be great if you could come out to VCF Midwest sometime. I don't think you've
Where
ever
is
been to
this?
that show, have you? Pardon?
Where is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's in Schaumburg, Illinois. So it's near Chicago. I know it's a bit far for you, but
Well,
it's
it's closer than Deutschland.
True.
yeah, that's it's definitely true.
I don't think I'm going to make it this year. I think I'm going to be too busy getting my students ready for the 22nd of August when they finish the quarter.
Sure.
It's a special deal. The VCF West, they're going to have a panel on Amiga before Commodore. And if I didn't mention it already, I'm badge number 3. Badge numbers 0, 1, and 2 are deceased. So I'm it. So I'll be part of that panel. And I have
Very
a whole
good.
bunch of notebooks from that period, hardbound notebooks
Mhm.
that I used twice. I've been called into court in Texas to testify the validity of the GPU patents, which are in the Amiga. And so I'll probably bring those books along.
Beautiful.
Should be very interesting.
Mercifully, those
And
patents have expired.
yeah,
I want the lawyers to be bored.
And finally, the Portland Retro Gaming Expo will be October 17th through 19th at the Oregon Convention Center uh, in Portland, Oregon. And there you can see Joe Decuir,
I will plan to be there.
who plans to be there, who single-handedly invented the joystick and the idea of bits and bytes.
No, I'm being embarrassed again. Okay.
all right. I will quickly run through the YouTube videos because we are running a bit long here. But I did find a video about an Atari Expo that took place in Chile at the Comic-Con on July 4th, 5th, and 6th in Santiago. And it looks like they had a lot of not just the VCS, but also the computers there to set up there and running games and so on. So that's pretty cool to take a look at. Also found a video by FlashJazzCat, Jonathan Halliday, where he talks about an XEGS that he was working on installing Ultimate 1 megabyte. And he also talks about the revised version of the Ultimate 1 megabyte, which I wasn't even aware of. Apparently, it's called the Ultimate 1 megabyte 2K5 revised. And basically the same board, but it was some chips were moved around and it's a purple color. So not a lot different there, but it's interesting to watch that. Also found a video that was some stock footage of Atari in the 1980s in Silicon Valley, put out there by Kino Library. I'm not sure where he got this stuff, but it's interesting to see that. And there's a fair amount of footage of the external, the exterior of the Atari headquarters. So, Joe, you may want to take a look at that.
Interesting.
Also,
There's some video of some lady typing on a computer. You can see some basic code for a split second that maybe could be freeze framed to figure out what that is. Something about ZDF German tele TV. Don't know what that is. And yeah, people building hardware and arcade games. Oh, yeah, that's fun. Neat. That's a great find.
the also found a video about the Atari Users Encyclopedia by Jerry White and Gary Phillips, put out by Vintage Gaming Memories. So he does a review of that particular book. And then finally, Atari BBS put out a video on using the Atari 800 Mac X with the FujiNet PC. So it's just a short, but he does show it in action. We talked about all of this work earlier, but if you want to see it in action, there you go. Take a look at that video.
Great.
Okay, nothing new to talk about archive.org. I
No,
guess
I'm
we
going to
talked a
save it
lot
for
about
save it for next
archiving.
time. I only
Yeah.
have one thing. I'll just save it for next episode. It'll be
Okay.
fine.
Well, we talked a lot about archiving early in the show.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think that pretty much takes care of the episode. Anything else you guys want to add?
I'm so
I'm
glad that
grateful to be able to participate.
yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to join us today,
Okay.
Joe. That was great.
Yeah, it's been wonderful, Joe, having you on the show. There's an open invitation. You are always welcome to come on Antic, and we're looking forward to all the great work that you're in the middle of right now.
Well, in the fall, in middle of August, I finish teaching the summer quarter. I got 5 weeks off before the fall quarter starts. I'm going to go visit my son in his family in Glasgow, Scotland. I'm going to be there for the UKSG show, which is a streaming game show. Last weekend in September, fly back and teach in the fall. In the fall, I'm only teaching one class, which is the time I've blocked out in my calendar for wade through all the ANTIC podcasts and collect all that stuff and upgrade the draft book. So I hope I have a whole lot to report on early next calendar year. And I'm assuming that the MIT Press people will still be interested in this book because they were before. But if they lose interest, I might publish it in some other way. And so if the Antic Podcast people have a website that I could post all this stuff on, I would.
Sure. We can make that happen. You could self-publish or find another publisher.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who listened to the show. We always call for feedback. We really want to hear what you're working on, what you're doing with the Atari computers. And we love getting the emails and people telling us what they're working on. So share it with us. And there are many ways that you can contact us. Brad's going to tell you how you can contact us via email.
It's antic at ataripodcast.com.
Kay is going to tell us how you can contact us on Mastodon.
Sure. We are on Mastodon. We are at Atari Podcast at oldbytes.space.
We have a website with show notes and links to all the great stuff we talked about in this episode, and that's at ataripodcast.com. We have a Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Atari Podcast. We have a Discord server that doesn't get a lot of activity, but you're welcome to come there and post content there. The
My
link
students
is
love
on
Discord.
Discord.
Do they?
Yeah, Discord's great. It's a nice chat tool. Yep. So come and join the Antic Discord. The link is on the website. And that's it for this month. Thanks everybody for listening, and thanks to all the great co-hosts. And it's been fun podcasting with you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye.